Good evening and welcome to Globespan 24x7, our Monday night program, to all our viewers, our friends from Guyana, the United States, and around the world. We want to thank Nohar Singh for making this platform available to us, and of course to Devin, our technical specialist, for making this available. We also want to thank Dr. Rose for being my co-host again. We have Minister Todd on this evening for the first part of our program, but they're having some technical issues with their system in Guyana, so we're trying to reconnect with them. And as soon as we get back Minister Todd, we'll have him on the program. This evening, I want to encourage all of you to listen to the program carefully. I have gone through some of the comments that you have made, and some, you know, as a professor, this evening we'll have three professors. Minister Todd is a professor, Dr. Rose is a professor, and I also lecture in college. And we encourage debate with our students, and I like those lively debate. But when you criticize what we are doing, we love those criticisms, but not just don't criticize. Try to make a recommendation how we can improve the program, and that's all it is. I'm sure some of you out there can be some of the best moderator that we can find, and we all encourage you to come on board, be a moderator, and that will be fine as well. You know, so I just want to encourage you guys, continue to do the criticism that you're doing, but in doing that, try to make recommendation how we can improve the quality of the program rather than, you know, making all these different accusations. So continue to do it. Yesterday, I want to also tell you that here in New York, when I was in Guyana also, I gave blood. Yesterday, I went to the blood bank here and I gave a pint of, it's amazing what they do here because I'm O positive. They take your blood out, strip out the red blood cells, and then put back the plasma in your body. And I said, oh, that's incredible. So yesterday I gave a pint of red blood cells, and I asked the guy, what can it be used for? And he says, well, open heart surgery, babies, and a whole lot of different operations it can be used for. So I want to encourage you guys out there, those who want to give blood. It's really a nice thing. I try to give 2 pints of blood every year. Call your blood bank, whether you live in Guyana, you live in New York, you live in Canada, you live any part of the world. Contribute blood. It's really nice. It's giving, you know, blood is life, and the more we can give of it, the better it will be for our fellow citizens. Dr. Rose, do you give blood?
No, not really. One of the reasons why I do not give blood at all is because I am terrified of hospitals. Very, very scared. I do not go to a hospital.
But it's not a hospital. It's not a hospital. It's these blood banks. Yesterday I went to a church, and they put you so nice on the chair, and they draw the blood from your hand, and it's very easy. It's really, really, really nice. So I want to encourage all our viewers.
The bottom line to it, Charles, I don't like a needle in my arm. I don't even want to give have a blood test.
Okay. I'm also an organ donor. So if, for instance, I die in the hospital, and if I have good organs in my body, the doctors can take it out, and that can also save many other lives after that. So that's also something you can think of. It's on your driver's license. So if you're an organ donor and you die in the hospital, only if you die in the hospital, they will take your organ. If you die at home, it might be too late. You die in the room, wherever it is. But it's the probability of you die in the hospital is kind of remote. But if you do, then they will take out those organs that might be good to help others as well. So those are things I want to encourage our viewers to do. If you can, giving blood, it's giving life. And it's really a nice thing to do. I enjoy giving it, and I want to encourage you to do it. I also want to encourage you again, for those of you who are contributing to the program, thank you so much. Every penny counts. Whatever you can, please contribute to the program. Also, when you buy your tickets to Guyana, use Travelspan. They get a commission, and some of those commissions can go to defray the cost of running these programs. So I'm appealing to you guys. I know there's advertisement that they're sending all these different containers and packages to Guyana and around the world. Use Globespan, and they will, again, get some income from that, and that will help also towards the program. Dr. Rose?
Oh, that's true. And tonight, again, we want to thank all of Globespan listeners and supporters near and far. We really and truly appreciate all your contributions, and you being our audience, we appreciate that as well. So hope you'll continue to listen to us, and to make this program a success, we need listeners, we need contributions.
Thank you. We are still waiting for Minister Todd. I think they're still having some technical issues there in Guyana. He was on earlier. Maybe we can get him back on audio, Devin. I don't know if that's possible, but maybe we can get the minister on audio. If we cannot get him on his video. Devin?
Yes, just give us 2 minutes, Charles.
Okay. Dr. Rose, you want to discuss anything to our viewer audience in the meantime?
No, I just want to start a discussion by saying that I saw the leaders in Guyana, thanks and congratulations to President-elect Biden, which was very, very good. And hopefully Guyana can continue to maintain good relations with the United States, as this is part of discussion days on foreign policy. And we hope that there's a clear pathway for major issues to be discussed between the United States and Guyana, because there are times when the lines are blurred and the foreign policy directives are not clear. So we're hoping that, this time around, it is much easier. Everyone is aware of what happened in the last election. The United States intervened, and they were criticized along with the other developed countries and other countries around the world. But there's no need for the United States to intervene in Guyana's election if we have fair and free elections. There's no need for foreign countries to intervene. And I think after 50-odd years of independence, 60 years of independence, whatever the time was, 56 years, I think, 54 years, I think Guyana should be of age and be ripe. It's an election. It's not the end of the world. You lose, you give up. Don't follow what Trump is doing here. This is a wrong example.
Well,
you should know based on your constituencies whether you're going to win an election or not as the votes start to tally. You should know where the rest of votes are coming from. Have people on the ground to know this. But to go and do what happened in Guyana for 5 months, it is ridiculous, or beyond being ridiculous. So those are things that Guyana should never get involved in. The country should glide through elections freely and smoothly and bring the people back together, because every election, there seems to be some division between the races. And it's stark when it comes to between the 2 major parties. Something has to be done to rectify that. Where the solution lies, no one knows. But I think a National Unity Commission should be established to foster unity between the 2 major races. What do you think about that, Charles?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. And the more we can bring the races together, and don't forget, there's not only 2 races in Guyana. There is, of course, the African and the Indian. There is the Amerindian. There is the mixed race. There's not a big percentage, but a small percentage of Chinese and Portuguese. But the majority of our people are of Indian or African origin, and then Amerindian, and of course the mixed race. Today I was reading an article that was sent by Mr. De Silva, and he was saying that almost 30% of the population, maybe more, are of mixed ancestry and Amerindian. So that's a big chunk of the electorate. And they can decide who the government is. If we continue to vote along racial lines, those mixed races and the Amerindians can decide who the winner of the election. And once the government does well, I think they should be rewarded for a next term. And I think so far, yes, I think we're getting Minister back on now. Yes, Minister is there. All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I know you've been trying a lot, right?
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Devin. Fantastic job, man. That's why we pay you all those big bucks, Devin.
Yeah, Devin has been a really great resource person within the Globespan 24x7. And we would like to acknowledge that. Minister, welcome to the program tonight.
Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for your patience and to your audience as well.
All right, Minister, before you came on, I was saying to the audience that tonight, for the first time, we're having 3 professors on the program. I know you're a professor at the University of Guyana, Dr. Rose, a professor here at CUNY, and I also teach here at Lecture at CUNY. So welcome to 3 professors for the first time on Globespan 24x7.
Thank you, Gordon.
All right. Minister, before I ask Dr. Rose to ask your question, you are the Minister of Foreign Affairs. What are some of the areas of your responsibility within the government of Guyana that you're responsible for as Minister?
Well, I'm responsible for foreign policy and execute the foreign policy agenda set by the President by using the appropriate foreign policy instruments to ensure that we can the foreign policy agenda set by the President by using the appropriate foreign internationally.
Sorry about that, Minister. Dr. Rose's phone is giving some problems, so
no, it's okay.
You're interrupting there. Thank you, Minister. Dr. Rose, question, Minister.
Minister Todd, welcome to this program, and thanks for coming on. And I hope you'll have a great time explaining yourself. But I don't know you, Minister Todd, and there's a saying that if I don't know you, this means the vast majority of Guyanese don't know you. Maybe the people from Linden, where I think you're from, they know you. So can you give us a background on yourself?
Originally, I'm a Lindener. I went to grade school and high school in Linden. I left Linden in the early 90s. I enlisted in the Guyana Defense Force in the Standard Officers Training. I was selected before the training was completed, and I did a stint at the Royal Britannia Naval College in the UK, South Devon, where I did general naval training and professional studies, all naval related. So by training, I'm a seaman, and I spent most of my time at the Guyana Defense Force Coast Guard, where, among other things, I was a craft commander, location commander, as well as a training officer. I left the military in 1999, and I went into the private sector, where I went into business. And whilst in business, I did my academic studies. And in 2012, I joined the University of Guyana, where I taught in the graduate school, politics and diplomacy. And I also taught business courses in the then Department of Business and Management Studies. And then we upgraded to a business school where I continue to teach in the areas of international business, business policy and strategy, international trade. Apart from my professional, teaching, I also held administrative appointments. I served as the head of the business department, and I also served as the assistant dean in the business school. Among that, I also sat on a few committees at the university. I got into politics in 2017, where I worked with the People's Progressive Party Civic within the civic component, and I campaigned with the party during the last lead up to the last elections. And here I'm
great.
Here I'm speaking with you this evening.
Great, thanks for that. Now, my first question to you is this. President Talim, congratulating President-elect Joe Biden, said you want to work with the Biden administration on critical strategic matters. Can I ask you, what are they, if you know?
I think what he's speaking to is the continuation of our foreign policy with the United States. As you are aware, we've always had very warm and cordial relations with the United States. The United States is a traditional partner, and we have always enjoyed very strong ties with the United States. And I think what the president was alluding to is the continuation of our strong ties in the areas of security, trade, and other social initiatives, education, training, etc. So he was basically speaking to the continuation of our strong ties that we've had with the United States for decades.
Okay, now the PEP had very good relationship with the Trump administration, and we saw that time and time again. Do you intend to maintain the same relationship or even better with the Biden administration?
I think it's the United States government. To put it in perspective, the United States is a very mature democracy and a leader within the region and globally. And the United States shares the same values that we share in terms of the principles and of democracy. And that is something that we hold very dearly. So when we talk about the United States government, it's not a personality per se, but but to what the United States people and system speak to, which is democracy, good governance, respect for human rights, respect for law and order. And that is a continuation that we will want to ascribe to meet. And we learn from the United States in many areas of governance. So we're speaking to that. So I don't think he was speaking to the personality of Donald Trump or the personality of Biden, but to the system that the United States has, which we embrace.
Okay, great. Now, leading up to elections, the diaspora has always been welcomed. Leaders from all the major parties come up here, members, senior members, and they will always have meetings and tell us how we are important and everything else. And they always promise to do X, Y, and Z for the diaspora. But after the election is over, we have seen clear abandonment of the diaspora, especially the ones in New York here. There's been clamoring for this government to establish what is called a diaspora unit or committee. Do you intend to go that route as the Minister of Foreign Affairs?
When you're speaking to the promises made in the past, do you have a point of departure? Where are you starting from?
Well, they always keep telling us that if elected, we support them financially and whatever other means, we will be given the opportunity to help in the development of Guyana. Our advice will always be sought. Repatriation of someone who wants to go back home will be offered opportunities to invest or jobs and so forth. But we have not seen it happen in none of the governments. So I'm asking you, do you intend to recognize the diaspora, especially in New York diaspora, where you have approximately 400,000 Guyanese? That's about half of Guyana's population.
So are you speaking on your own behalf, or are you speaking on behalf of the diaspora in general?
This has been the general feelings of the diaspora. Okay. I will not tell you my feelings, but it's been the general cry of the diaspora over the years. Not against your government alone, don't get me wrong, against previous administrations as well.
Minister, if you don't mind, compared to what Dr. Rosa said, the vision of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it says part of that vision is harnessing in a structured manner the skills, expertise, and other resources of the Guyanese diaspora. What Dr. Rose is actually saying, the only part of this mission, of this vision that is in place is election time when they come up here to get funding for the election. After that, the skills and expertise of the diaspora is gone abyss. So my question, as Dr. Rose said, what contribution the Guyanese diaspora can contribute to Guyana's development?
I would not endeavor to speak on the past. What I can tell you is about here and now. And I can speak without reservation here that the Irfan Ali's administration is committed to engaging the diaspora in a very meaningful way, to the extent that the diaspora was mentioned in the manifesto, and I would hope that you goodly gentlemen would have read our manifesto, and you would have seen the diaspora playing a major role, and that is our promise to the people of Guyana and to our brothers and sisters who reside in the diaspora. What you have to understand too is that whatever would have happened in the past is the past. We need to focus on how we move forward. And I think that if you look at the last 100 days, which I think it's today, tomorrow or Wednesday, I think, you would have seen massive amounts of movement in that direction. We've had several engagements already in reaching out to the diaspora. We're working on a new policy that would be enlarged to give more meaning to our engagements. Coming out of that would be our strategic initiatives so that we're able to target the diaspora in a way in which we're able to capture those elements that would speak to our developmental plans. So I can tell you that at this juncture, our ambition is to give a lot of relevance and meaning and substance to our embrace of the diaspora. And that has to do with how we see Guyana moving forward. We would not tell you that we can do it alone. We're a small nation state. We have inherent vulnerabilities, and human capital is a deficiency. It's not akin only to Guyana, but in all of the small states. And reaching out to the diaspora is part of your strategic plan. And I can tell you that we are going to have a very active and meaningful collaboration with the diaspora. And we've already made a lot of movements in that direction. And I can tell you that the president himself is going to be directly involved in policy making and strategic initiatives in that direction.
Okay, thanks. Now, this is the peeve that most people have up here. And they're saying that for the most part, when a PVP Consul General is appointed here in New York City, he or she visits the Indian communities in Richmond Hill and Queens and so forth. And the same is true for a PNC commissioner or ABDU commissioner. They visit Brooklyn, where the supporters are. In general, Consul General is supposed to represent everybody. Now, my question to you is this: how you intend to change this course of direction, where a Consul General, if appointed or when appointed, or if one is there already, I don't know, you intend to let them be involved in all the communities here in New York?
Well, I'm not in a position to verify your statements, but my answer to that is the president's commitment to inclusive governance. And when he talked about inclusive governance, he was not only talking about how we embrace persons here in Guyana who might have had different political affiliations, but he's talking about embracing each and every Guyanese here in Guyana and in the diaspora who wishes to commit to the development of Guyana. And that is why I want us to focus on moving forward. I think we're at a critical juncture in our political history where our intention is to have a very broad-based approach to dealing with development. And we're looking for balanced development, equal opportunity, and to ensure that we include every well-meaning Guyanese how should I put it, to be part of our developmental plan. So rest assured that any Consul General, Honorary Consul, whatever title they hold, that person will represent the government of Guyana in a very inclusive manner and in a manner in which represents the wishes and vision of the president. If that is not so, that will be corrected immediately. So I want you to accept what I'm saying this evening. The president is committed towards embracing each and every Guyanese. He is someone who is not in favor of one race over another. For us, we're a party that believes in the people. We don't see color, we don't see race, we don't see religion, we don't see any other demographic indicator but Guyanese. And we are reaching out to each and every Guyanese who wishes to be part of this big developmental drive that we have, that we're expecting. So you might have your views on the past, but I can tell you that I'm very optimistic about the future and how we're going to position ourselves to ensure that each and every Guyanese, whether they're in Brooklyn, whether they're in Queens, whether they're in New Jersey, to be part of this drive.
Minister, before, Doc, if you don't mind, Minister, follow up with Dr. Rose's program question. Successive government, whether it was the PPP or was the APNU AFC, they have not appointed foreign service officers who are trained in foreign service to these diplomatic positions. Is there a way that you want to change that? Because in the last PP government, they appointed supporters of the PP to this position. APNU AFC, they appointed their supporters to this position. Is it your plan to ensure that our foreign service, whoever heads our foreign service, consulate, consul general, embassies and whatever, are qualified foreign service officers who will visit, as Dr. Rose says, not because of race or whatever it is, but the Guyanese who they represent in those areas?
In other words, are there people trained in foreign policy and diplomacy? That's in a nutshell.
We have a very professional foreign service here in Guyana. And if you look at our postings, you will find that we have a lot of career foreign service employees across the missions and embassies. And we are not only focusing on who heads the mission or consulate or embassy, we're focusing on the entire package. We want to be able to ensure that we have the right people, the right positions who are suitable for the job. So suitability is very important for us. And of course, we want to have persons who have training in foreign service or in the foreign service who can actually execute our mandate. And we're not only going to focus on persons who are, I should say, party supporters. We want people who are committed to Guyana. And that has always been our approach. In some cases, persons who might have been appointed might have been a very strong supporter, and nothing is wrong with that. But the scale would always be balanced when we make appointments. Every government may have appointments that are political, and that is a given. But you would never find in PPPC's administration an overwhelming amount of persons in the foreign service who are politically appointed. And you can go through the missions and you'll see most of the persons who hold positions are career public service, career foreign service officers.
Since the start of globalization, which dates back to the late 80s, early 90s, most embassies I have known, because foreign policy, diplomacy, international relations is what I actually studied like you. They have established trade and development or trade and commerce departments at their embassies, consulates, and so forth. I am not sure we have that at the consulates or the high commissioners or the ambassadors or the embassies around Guyana, for Guyana around the world. Is this going to change?
I think one of the problems that we would have faced in the past was the fact that we had a deficiency in terms of our human capital in that regard. And you have to remember when we took office in 1992, the globalization phenomenon was now ushering in. So we found that there was a lot of changes on the political side with the globalization of politics, and that led the way for the globalization of economics. When we looked at that, when we took office, you would have found that we had a lot of Guyanese with talent who would have left. So when we took over the Foreign Service, it was not in a pristine condition. We had to rebuild that, and then we had to focus on allowing the private sector to take the role in terms of the engine of growth. And we've done a fantastic job between 1992 and 2015 when we left office. You have to remember when we took office, we were a highly indebted and poor country. When we left office in 2015, we were a middle-income country. We were able to grow the private sector, which was about 10% of the economy when we took office in 1992. So now the engine of growth, the private sector was able to really expand and grow, and that is why Guyana was able to develop. And with that, we will be able to improve our image and our capacity at the international level in terms of placements. And I think we have a good opportunity now to use the resources we have in Guyana and in the diaspora to contribute to advancing our foreign policy agenda.
Okay,
Thank you.
Guyana is known. Guyana is known around the world. Just now, Guyana is known around the world since its finding of oil. Almost every country is aware of what's going on in Guyana. We have 12 embassies and about 31 consul general offices. Given the role of Guyana's prominence in the world today, do you intend to expand or increase those?
First of all, I want to welcome Minister Gail Teixeira.
Okay. Thanks.
It's about a long day. Well, yes, naturally. We expect our economy to expand exponentially with our revenues, but we want to focus on diversification. And in focusing on diversification, we would need a lot of support from the diaspora in terms of technical skills, in terms of foreign direct investment, persons who are coming back who would have found areas that they can invest. We want to also ensure that we can have academics coming back, because education is a major pillar in terms of development drive. And of course, once our economy takes off, we would become more attractive in terms of our brand, and we'll be able to maintain our democracy and political stability, and we will win more friends. And with that, we may need to expand. But what we're trying to do right now is to consolidate in a major way the friends that we have, deepen and strengthen our relations, and then we can start expanding our diplomatic relations with other countries by having a physical office in those countries. So that will come naturally as we grow and expand as an economy.
Before you go, I must say this quickly. Minister Todd, I will be totally, okay, I won't say that, but let me say this to you. No. Let me say this to you. You have a fantastic personal assistant in Miss Monique Jones. She's the epitome of what communication ought to be. I text her, I called her, she'll respond. And that's what we need in Guyana. That's not happening at most of the ministries. So give my best regards to Miss Monique Jones. She's a fantastic person. With her at your side, I don't know the rest of the people you have at your side, but I know her. But she's a fantastic person. I must say that.
And Minister,
she's a public servant. She came across from the office of the president, so it must be pervasive.
Okay.
And Minister, before you go, and we want to welcome, of course, your colleague, Minister Gail Teixeira, on the program. Minister, welcome to the program. Minister Teixeira, your speaker, your mute button is on. In the meantime, Minister Todd, are you planning to set up any foreign trade desk at the different consulate and embassies across the world with professionals to man those desks?
Yeah, of course. For us to be able to in a meaningful way engage with our friends and partners around the world, we will have to have persons with a technical capacity that understand how to engage on a technical level. So, for example, you will find that we will want to have, and this is based on the assessment and needs for that particular mission or embassy or consulate. We may have a political officer, an economic officer, and someone who's handling diaspora matters. It may not be across the board and not necessarily in that order, but we will ensure that we have the complement that is necessary for us to engage in a meaningful way. So we're looking at all of the areas that we need to cover, and we will concentrate on those areas where we see the need. So you'll find that in some cases we may have all the three that I mentioned, plus some. In some cases, may not, depending on the level of engagement and the necessity. Because at the end of the day, still cost is still a factor, and we still have to manage our finances because the taxpayers are paying for that, right? So we want to ensure that they get value for their money. So as policy, as being part of policy and in politics. We want to ensure that the people of Ghana get the best bang for their representation, and that is our intention, to ensure that we meet their needs and in some cases exceed it. Because at the end of the day, we still have to go back to the people for another mandate in 2025. So we want to ensure that we do good by them, and at the same time, engaging with the diaspora so that they can feel comfortable embracing us, because you guys have been exposed to a very modern democracy where things work, and for us, we want you to understand that we're getting there. We just came out of a very trying brutal period. Trying period. So I think that you will be able to understand us even better, and what the Irfan Ali government has in store in terms of really reaching out to the diaspora to ensure that they are part of this development drive, because you guys were also very important or very vital in advocating for us when we were going through our struggles to restore democracy here in Guyana. And you guys understanding that is important for us, because we're able to move beyond democracy to strengthen our institutions and allowing trade, investment, and your contribution to Guyana to work in a seamless manner. Are we hearing Minister Gail? Because my time is up, so
yeah, okay.
I want to hand over to her, but I can.
Well, Minister Todd, we want to thank you so much for being in the program tonight. It's really appreciated, and we look forward to having you sometime again in the program.
Yes,
as we go over to Minister Gail Teixeira.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Minister Todd, and you have a good evening. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Good luck to you in your ministry.
We'll
take a break. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll have Minister Gail Teixeira with us here. Thank you so much, Minister Todd.
Thanks.
Devin, are we going to break?
Travelspan is pleased to announce that the airport in Guyana is now open. There are flights from New York and Miami non-stop to Guyana. Call Travelspan for all your travel needs to Guyana or for your vacation to Mexico or Punta Cana. Call 718-845-0437. That's 718-845-0437. Flights are now on sale to Guyana, and vacation packages are now on sale to Mexico and Punta Cana. Call 718-845-0437. Logistics International, based in Trinidad with representatives in Guyana, is pleased to announce its shipping services from Trinidad to Guyana. Logistics provides shipping services and has experienced personnel to handle all of your shipping needs from Trinidad to Guyana. Buy in Trinidad and let Logistics handle all of your shipping to Guyana, from small boxes to container sizes. Call Logistics in Trinidad at 1-868-336-8218. to handle all of your shipping needs, and they handle all sizes. Logistics International has been shipping for over 22 years to many Caribbean countries with reliability and dependability. Call 1-868-336-8218 in Trinidad. That's 1-868-336-8218. Or email at liclcargo@gmail.com. Globespan 24x7 continues its efforts to serve the communities. The platform provides for all sides to air their views and discuss solutions. Viewers in Guyana and across the world are participating in these discussions. Globespan's platform offers Guyanese an opportunity to express their concerns and discuss solutions in the political realm, thereby addressing the polarized situation. Discussions also include social ills such as alcoholism, domestic violence, and suicides that have been plaguing the people. The Globespan 24x7 platform connects the diaspora and the world with Guyana. So become a supporter of Globespan 24x7 today by clicking the badge icon on the lower right side of your screen. For only $10 a month, you will be a supporter of Globespan 24x7 initiative and have a badge displayed on your Facebook profile. Help us to continue to serve the communities. Cannot travel due to COVID? Then treat yourself or your loved one with a gift. Purchase it online, then let TravelSpan shop and ship take care of the rest. TravelSpan is now offering a shop and ship program to Guyana and Trinidad. Cheap rates plus tracking and multiple offices in Georgetown, West Coast Demerara, and Berbice to take care of your package. Treat yourself and ship your Christmas gifts early this year. In Guyana, 227-1701, and in New York, call 347-238-2201. That's 227-1701. And in New York, 347-238-2201. Let TravelSpan and Globespan take care of your online shopping and shipping.
Ready? Welcome back to our program. We want to thank you for staying with us. We had in a previous segment Minister Hugh Todd, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I hope he answered your questions that you would have wanted him to. There's so many more questions to ask him, but he had to go to another appointment, so he couldn't stay on with us. But we have with us Minister Gail Teixeira. And I think, again, something seems to be happening in Guyana with the internet and with the program. We are seeing Minister earlier, but we couldn't hear her. So we are waiting for our technical specialist to get her back on the program with us. Dr. Rose, as we wait for Minister, what do you think of Minister Todd's response to the question that you asked?
I think they were good, but I still believe that the ministry has to come up with a very coherent foreign policy agenda, and people have to know the direction the ministry is going. Because Ministry of Foreign Affairs is like the eyes and ears of Guyana. That's the only ministry can lift Guyana's image, improve it overseas, or dampen it down. And they have to have very sharp people working there. People who are qualified, said in foreign policy and diplomacy, international relations, globalization, and all those international terms that help to advance a country. And I think this government is set to accomplish those tasks, but the time frame, I am not sure. And they've got to push it because oil is on the horizon. We are an exporter of oil now. I'm recommending that Guyana should join OPEC. Some people are saying no because OPEC can tell you to cut back on production and so forth. But people don't understand OPEC or its constitution. OPEC of itself, if you're a new member, you're a poor country, you can forego that cutback. You can say, look, I need an exemption in this time here so that I can pump oil because my economy is at a standstill or something. So OPEC has those clauses where the countries can be exempted. But joining OPEC, it's more of a benefit to Guyana than anything else. Because if you need any technical help, any export in oil, you can get these guys from the Middle East to come down here and help you, and it will be like free of any cost, you know. So that's something that they have to really work on and make sure that they join OPEC as soon as possible. Trinidad is a member, Venezuela is a member, Ghana should become a member.
Is Suriname a member, you think?
No, Suriname is not as yet. They're 30-member OPEC. They're thinking about 30-member OPEC countries. But oil producing, you have to collaborate. You have to cut back production when there's too much oil in the market. And you have to increase production when there's little or no oil in the market. Because the OPEC countries realize that if they cut back and cut back and cut back, and gas price rises, less people will join, less gas will be used in the developed countries. And this is why they're pushing to have electric cars. So OPEC realized that they can only cut back for so long and make sure the price is about average.
And that's a good point, because when Joe Biden, if he go through with his plan and cut back oil production here in the US, that will be beneficial to Guyana, because price is likely to go up. And if price goes up, then Guyana will get a better deal on the extraction of oil. So that might be a good thing for Guyana. What do you think?
Well, it's easy to say we're going to do this as a campaigner, as a candidate, presidential candidate, we're going to do this. But for him to cut back on oil in the United States, the oil lobby is one of the biggest lobbies here. That's not going to happen. Oil production as a matter of fact, oil production will increase in the United States because they know oil will lose its steam as more electric cars come on the market. Remember this, vehicles are the largest consumers of oils, not equipment in factories and those things anymore, vehicles of itself. And if almost half of Europe already gone to electric cars, some are hybrid. And if that continues, then what we'll have is an excess of oil in the world market, which will be good for consumers. The prices will drop.
The Minister is back on. Minister, you hearing us?
Yeah, barely. I'm hearing you. Not well.
Okay,
thanks.
well, Minister,
the volume here is up very high.
I know. We are hearing you loud and clear.
Okay, well, I'm not hearing you that well. It's very low. I don't know why. We've done all the adjustments here. So let's hope I can hear everything you're saying.
All right. Is your volume on your computer turned up?
All the way up.
Okay. Okay,
Minister, again, welcome to the program. We are so pleased to have you this evening. As you know, we had Minister Todd in the first part, and we're having you now. Minister, you are one of the longest serving party member who has now taken on another portfolio of ministry. How has it been over the past, 20, 30 years being a minister, and which one of the ministries you think you had the most success in or you enjoyed the most?
I enjoyed all of them in different ways. I've been in government from '92, and then I wasn't a minister from 2006 until 2015. I was a presidential advisor on governance. But I enjoyed all my ministries. Each one had their own individual challenges. Health, 92 to 97. And then when Mrs. Jagan became president, she asked me to start a new Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, because she felt that these were areas that were neglected, and they were important for building trust and building national unity and recognizing the diversity of Guyana. And then I did Home Affairs during 2004 to 2006. Home Affairs was probably the most complex and the most difficult. Culture, Youth and Sport was the most creative, and the one that allowed you to use your imagination and to explore and to work with young people and in culture and sport. So they were completely different. Health was an area I loved anyway because I love public health, and so all brought their differences, and I enjoyed each one of them. I'm in a new ministry now, Parliamentary Affairs and Governance, which has important roles to play in our society, and I hope that I will be able to contribute towards trust and confidence being built in our country, and being able to look at the constitutional bodies and ensuring that they're strong and have the capacity to carry out the mandate of the Constitution. And of course, with parliamentary affairs, that's a special love of mine in terms of Parliament and the role of Parliament in terms of being a change agent for the country and bringing forward progressive laws and being able to function in a way that everybody knows what's going on in Parliament and is familiar and appreciates that, so that they don't see Parliament as something out there and can't relate to what the politicians are doing. So I've had a long run. Yes, that's true. I've had a long run as a politician in government, but I've had a long run too outside of government from 77 onwards. So I've been around for a while.
Minister, I want to ask you a question. You were living in Toronto, am I right?
Yes, for 10 years, between the ages of 14 and 24.
So you left Toronto to went back to Guyana to join the PAP?
Yes, my parents emigrated when I was 14 from Guyana. I'm a young lady who grew up in Georgetown and work in Rust area. I used to live a block from the prison. And so my parents emigrated in the violence of the 60s and finished high school in Canada and university. And then at 24, I decided to come home and to work with Dr. Jagan. And my family thought I was crazy, but it was an important decision I made and one I don't regret.
What year was that?
1977. Well, 1976. I landed here January the 1st, 1977.
Okay. You have served, I think, 5 prime ministers. Now, Dr. Ali is your 6th. You have served Dr. Jagan, presidents and prime ministers. You have served Dr. Jagan, well, it got to be presidents. You have served Dr. Jagan. You have served Mrs. Jagan. You have served Mr. Sam Hines. You have served Vice President Bharat Jagdeo, Mr. Ramatar, and now Dr. Irfan Ali.
Yes.
Excluding Dr. Ali, which you now, which one of those presidents you enjoy working the most with? If this is going to put you in trouble, don't say it.
That's a loaded question, you know that? That's a very loaded question. You want to put me in trouble? No, I will say this, that every president has brought their own style, their character, and their agenda. And so, of course, Chedi was very special. I worked with him as his personal assistant from 77 to 92, and then served as a Minister of Health in the first government. And that had enormous challenges with a bankrupt economy and the main sectors of the country were near collapse and, total demoralization in the public service. And so those years were very challenging. And then, of course, Mrs. Jagan was in I think one would call the politically traumatic and emotionally traumatic period with the post-97 elections and the Herdsmust and the St. Lucia Accords and statements that took 2.5 years out of the PBPC government. And then Dr. Jagdeo, young and energetic and visionary and transformative, and certainly was a completely different style, but one in which the kind of visionary role that Chedi had, he had also. And so I've had experience with all the presidents, and I see Irfan Ali in that light too, of all the leaders who have taken up the post of presidency in a PPP government, have had a vision of the future, and certainly I enjoyed working with all of them. All of them worked in and were governing in difficult times. With Mr. Ramatar, it was when we were in a minority government, and this had its own challenges with the budgets being cut by $90 billion, and how do we run a government? How do we do a transformative project and programs? So that if we look at the presidents, they all are in different eras of the struggle of our people and the struggle of our country. And so I'm sure with President Ali, we are going to have tremendous advancement, particularly under Jagdeo, whether people like him or not. And I think the PNC has an obsession with him. I think the PNC leaders can't sleep unless they know where he is and what he's doing. So Dr. Jagdeo is a bête noire. is the bête noire that they would like to ignore, you know, that gives them tremors, because I think they recognize that when he was president, that is when all the things we'd invested in as a party in government from 92 to 2002, 2003, 2006 started to pay off in the period 2006 to 2011, when the country really began to take off. And so it is really his energy and leadership and very strategic thinking that brought us to that phase in 2006 to 2011. And we have as a party, and the leadership of the party in government and outside of government has been able to give our people the leadership that is necessary. I mean, when the 2015 elections, I think the PNC calculated, and I keep saying PNC because APNU, AFC, to me is all PNC anyway, that they deliberately calculated that after the PBP had been in government for all these years, and that they figured we'd become dependent on government, that the PBP would kind of roll over and die post 2015. And they found that it had the opposite. Being out of government reinvigorated us, and whatever weaknesses we had and vulnerabilities and so on, we pulled our socks up as a party. And really in the 2015-2020 period before the elections, the PBP showed its enormous strength and capacity as an opposition to be able to expose what the PNC was doing, but also to offer an alternative vision for our country. And so I wouldn't say which president, because I think each one of them has been experienced. And when I get to retire, hopefully I'll be able to write some memoirs of some of the experiences. But at this point, we are facing a PNC once again that says that the PBP is illegitimate. But the people of this country know that every day that goes by, the country is changing. And as we said, to restore our nation and to turn Guyana back around, because by the time the elections came, we were sliding downhill. And of course, in the 5 months, which unfortunately we made a global record, that the country kept sliding. And so we've been able to start pulling the country up by its bootstrings. And we're beginning to see life come back into the country despite COVID-19. Things are beginning to happen. There are lots of contracts being publicly advertised, activities going on in terms of just building and roads and bridges, and people are getting back into action. And so it is almost as if Guyana was in a somnambulistic state for a number of years, and we've kind of woken up, like, you know, and I believe that despite COVID-19, the country is waking up and moving forward. And despite what the PNC says, people just want to get on with their lives. They want to do better.
Can you stop there? I got a quick question for you.
Yes.
You have lived in Canada.
So I'm sorry if I keep, because I'm looking to see if you're speaking or not, because I can barely hear you. Sorry about that.
You have lived in Canada as a teenager, and you have given up your citizenship to become a minister. Am I right to say that?
Yes.
Okay.
I renounced my Canadian citizenship to be able to go on the list of candidates.
Right.
I didn't know if my party would choose me to be a minister again, but to go on the list of candidates.
In Jamaica, Section 39 of Jamaican Constitution states that if you are a member of the Commonwealth, you can be a member of Parliament or a minister. You don't even have to be a Jamaican. What do you intend to change the laws in Guyana so as to make dual citizenship be accepted to be at least a member of Parliament and a minister?
I think that this is something we recognized in 2019 when the Basil Williams took the case to do with Sharon Das and the no confidence motion to court. We said publicly then that this was a matter that needed a national discourse, because here we are inviting people to come home to invest, and yet at the same time they're told that they can't invest your money, get property, live here, enjoy yourselves, vote, of course, but you can't hold elected office at the level of the parliament. And therefore, this is something that needs to be discussed. I'm sure the diaspora people in diaspora are concerned about this. And certainly, as we know in Guyana, many, many people have dual citizenship. Some have triple. And so the issue of, but it will require, one, a national discourse, because there are views that may not be sympathetic to that. And there also, it will require constitutional amendment, because the Australians, what they did, I think when the British, when we had independence in the different Commonwealth countries, they put in this clause to do with not having allegiance or adherence to a foreign power. And basically it come out of one of the big spy cases in the UK, I think just before World War II. What the Australians did is that they made it very clear that they added into their same phrase we have in our constitution, but they added another clause that said, and or citizen of another country. Our country, or ours, only says adherence to another foreign, or obligation to a foreign power.
Yeah.
And
now,
so it will require a constitutional amendment.
The question is this. I want to let you know this. To make a strong argument, anyone, you can be from Guyana, Jamaica, Trinidad, Kenya, any country in Africa or Asia, Latin America. As long as you become 7 years after becoming a citizen, you can run to be a member of the US Congress. And 9 years after becoming a citizen, for the US Senate.
Yeah.
The US saw what we don't recognize, that there are people outside of the states with talent. Guyana needs people outside of Guyana with talent. And so I'm recommending to you, or suggesting to you, that this type of law should be changed. It's really archaic. Britain is the same thing. Britain is the same thing. France is the same thing.
You're talking to the converted, because, I mean, the issue of allegiance to or adherence to a foreign power is loaded. It can be interpreted in many ways. And I think it is, when the court ruled here, it was the first definitive ruling by a court that made it absolutely clear. Up until that time, members of parliament did have dual citizenship on all sides of the house. And it went through for years, even before 92 and after 92. So I think it is something that we have to talk about as a people. And once there is consensus, we then have to have a constitutional amendment. And I'm not totally sure right now, when I'm speaking to you, whether it is one of those amendments that have to have a referendum or a 2/3 majority in the House. But I would hope that it would be something that both sides of the House would support, because it does affect both sides of the House.
Sure.
All right. And Minister, Minister, concerning the same line of question with Dr. Rose, with a constitutional amendment, would you look at go back to constituent to elect your member of parliament? That's one. And secondly, I know we follow the Westminster system of governance, but will you look at the US way, a Republican Congress, where the Secretary of State, in our case, the Ministers of Government, is separate from the Parliament? Is that something that the PPP has considered, or will you support something like that?
Well, you're asking many things one time.
I know. Yeah.
That has many components, that question. One is the issue to do with, are we going to remain a PR system, a proportional representation, with what is a hybrid Westminster Republican system, so that we're not a true Westminster system in Guyana. We're a hybrid system of Republican and Westminster, and that is why we're not like our CARICOM sister countries. We're quite different, and we're not exactly like our Republican-style neighbors in South America either. So we're hybrid. We have a Westminster-style parliament, but we have a political system that is basically Republican with executive president, etc. The issue of PR versus first past the post is one that even in the UK right now has been looked at for the last 20 years, a discussion on which one is better. The PR system does require you to have 50% of the votes. In the first past the post, as you saw in the British elections, over several British elections, that government could get in with about 40% of the votes.
A plurality.
So that,
a plurality of the votes.
Yeah. And
but
so,
you can change that. But you can change that to make it like in Georgia here, for instance. Georgia, you need to get 50% of the vote to win that seat. So we can also say
But you see what I find is interesting. We have been criticized as a country that has winner takes all. And that is something that Chetty raised all the time about, that our system wasn't, that we were not a winner take all government. But look at the elections in the United States recently. You know that here in Guyana, we have the hybrid system of the geographic seats and the national top-up seats. So we have 65 seats, 40 are national top-up, 25 are geographic. Let's give an example. In Region 1, there are 2 seats. And unless the party gets over 60%, they cannot get both seats. In the US system, you get 50 or 50.8%, and you can get all the seats in that state. And so I think our system is fairer in the sense that there are 25 seats. I mean, we're a small country, we're not United States, but that in every region where there's more than 1 seat, in order to get all the seats, even though if you win the plurality, you cannot get it unless you get over 60% of the votes in that region. So that is why in all the 10 regions, even where we have a large majority, say in Region 6 or Region 9, we haven't got, Region 6 and Region 3, we haven't got all the seats because you don't have 60% of all the seats. Whereas in the States, you just need to get 50.1% and you got all the seats, 12 seats or 15 seats or 5 seats in the state.
The Electoral College, yes.
Yeah, the Electoral College. So I think that our system is a little more democratic, actually. It's not winner takes all. And therefore, it does force any government or any party wishing to get in government to be very strategic in how you run your programs, how you run your programs as a government, and when you're in the campaign, how you're able to calculate and strategize to win more votes in every region.
Okay,
so
Minister.
But all of that has to be debated and discussed. There is no. What I'm saying is that there are very many models that have to be looked at. And we went through that in the 1999 to 2001 period in great detail. It is now, 19 years later, and the system is not old. So you have systems in the United States that are 300 years old. We have systems here that are 19 years old. And therefore, whether the permutations of working because the system is flawed, but because the humans are flawed in doing it, is something that has to be looked at. I don't think that personally that any radical move away from a hybrid PR system is one that we should go into now. I think that is something that can evolve. And as there are countries around the world looking at PR instead of first past the post, we have a hybrid system at the local government, as you know, which is even more, which has 50% of the seats in every local government is first past the post, and 50% that's PR. And that is an interesting formula that has worked well with local government in the last 2 elections. And that was the system brought in.
Minister, I know Dr. Rose will comment, but quickly, I want to segue a little into what happened on Sunday, or Saturday was it, the commemoration anniversary of the fallen heroes of World War I and II was recently held, as you know, at the cenotaph in Georgetown. It is very disturbing to read in the newspaper that the mayor of Georgetown was not invited. Would you like to throw some light on that?
I have no idea, because all the years that I've known about it, it is not the government that organizes it, as far as I know. It is those who are involved in the discipline services and the Veterans Legion and so on who do it. I'm not aware, but maybe I'm wrong. But whilst the government supports it, but it's a public affair too. You didn't have to be invited. Anybody could go to the function. It's open air, it's near the cenotaph, and anybody could go to it. It's public. But I can't answer why the mayor wasn't there.
Okay, Dr. Rose?
I wouldn't venture there.
Okay. Minister Teixeira, you have been the hallmark of the PEP party over the years. It's at 77, that's 23 and 24, 3 years. Someone sent me a text and it says, in the PEP constitution it's guided by Marxism-Leninism principles. Does that still, he wants to know if does that still exist in the constitution?
The PPP's policy and program since prior to 92 was about, when we were struggling for free and fair elections, leading up to the 92 elections, was that program that we wrote then, which is still relevant today, we have not changed it, is that we were in the we were entering into a national democratic phase, and that the focus was on democracy, national development, and being able to have a pro-poor, pro-growth approach, that we would be loyal to the working people of the country, but we'd also be working towards the development of our country and working with partnerships with the private sector, with the labor unions, and with other forces to develop our country. So from 91, when we drafted our program, which, as I said, remains still as our guideline, we have not amended in any way, that we felt that we were going into a national democratic phase. The issue of socialism was a goal that we would try to achieve, but it was not on the horizon and would not be on the near horizon either.
As the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, you know every government appoints political appointees to positions. Yeah. So when a government changes, those employees ought to go. They should not wait in the government to ask them to resign. But in this case, I was told, and I'm seeing where a lot of new political appointees are still in positions. And when your government gets rid of them, APNU is crying witch hunt. What have you to say?
Well, they're very mad at me because I have been the person who has been terminating a number of the political appointees. I know that there are also many persons who were appointed politically, but who have been, how do you say, put on the fixed public service establishment. They're not on contract, and therefore they are governed by the Public Service Commission, who is reluctant to in any way interfere with them or to change them in any way. So that there are persons who are on the fixed public service establishment who were political appointees that we cannot remove at this point. I would hope that, being Guyanese and working in the public service, that they would recognize that what they're being asked to do is to be professional and to give the best to the country, regardless of who is in government, and that they wake up. But there are persons in the system, and that's one thing the PNC did and the APNU did. They bloated the public service by over 10,000 people more, and a lot of activists, friends of family, etc. Some persons are qualified, some persons are not. And then what they did is they put them, got them put on the fixed public service establishment, which means it is very difficult to remove them. And I'll just give you one example of one of the persons who was the director of youth, which APNU itself wanted to have moved. And the person was interdicted, I understand. The public service took 18 months and did nothing. And then after we got into government, sent the person to work in another ministry. And so that was a person that APNU wanted to move. And so you can imagine some of the difficulties we have here. What we're asking people to do is that when we're in the public service is to carry out the programs and policies of the government in the best interest of the people. And I think some people will, as they say in Guyana, catch their level and decide that they should be professional, and others who will continue to try to undermine the system. And over time, they will have to face the Public Service Commission and disciplinary action.
But Minister, as a follow-up to that question, before I left Guyana, I was the Director of Finance at the Georgetown Hospital. And what I found out there was that the permanent secretaries can appoint people like cleaners, drivers, receptionists, telephonists, and so on, because they're not in the traditional public service. And what they do when they get into the corporation or the ministry, they're put to do clerical duties. And that, I don't know if it's still happening in Guyana, but that is one of the loopholes, because the PS can appoint certain category of employees, and the public service proper comes under the public service ministry. Is that still happening?
No, I think, well, they're all part of the public service public service, because you can't hire anybody in the public service unless there's a position there. So the fact that PSs or anybody else could hire them has to do with the fact that positions are there in those entities.
Yeah, what I'm saying, Minister, no, I know what you're saying. The PS hires them as a telephonist, as a receptionist, as the case may be, and then when they come in, they go into clerical position, which they're not qualified to do. And that's my question. Is it still happening? Do you know?
Not aware that I'm not aware since the last we took over government that's happening. I can't say what happened before August, but I do know that when I've looked at some of the files, there are quite a number of people who were political appointees who were not qualified, who were receiving $200,000 with internet, electricity, duty-free concession, gratuity, etc. I don't want to begrudge anybody earning money, but I do believe that there were a number of political appointees who were earning a lot of money. Others were making $650,000, $750,000 a month, and in some cases the PS never saw them. They never came to work, and you can't find one piece of paper that they worked on or contributed towards. So that those are persons that I know about that have been terminated. Some voluntarily resigned, and I have greater respect for those who did, as Dr. Rose said, did what was ethically correct and do the honorable thing and resign. The majority did not. And so I understand what you're raising, because I've seen the files. And there was in the Office of the President a person who was in charge of what was called the political department. So that their system appeared to be that if a cleaner or a driver or a clerical person or anybody wanted a job, it had to go through OP, to Mr. Harmon and to the head of the political department. And once they were kind of due diligence was done on them to see if they were thought to be PPP or anybody else, then the letter would go from Office of the President to the PSM to say, hire this person on contract, and otherwise to send the person to the Public Service Commission to be put on the fixed establishment. And so there was a mechanism they had here, what I call a clearing house, that OP had a clearing house and what was an official political department that cleared if people got jobs or not in the public service. Now, that has been dismantled in terms of there's no such unit in the Office of the President. You know, I have been involved with what is a presidential mandate in appointing PSs, etc.
Okay, Dr. Rose.
Madam Minister, I've been told from a number of sources that Georgetown, as we stand today, the garbage is not being picked up. It has been said that APNU, and this is an allegation, is not proof. I've told the city, leave the city. I've told the city establishment to leave Georgetown dirty, for them to blame the PEP like what happened before they came into office. And as you saw last night, there was a fire in Regent Street, and the fire hydrant was covered in garbage, so the firemen could not have actually. Is one of the owners that they say there's a fire below there? Or is the PEP going to allow this to happen again? Because Georgia is being cluttered right now with garbage.
Yeah, well, I know that the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development has spoken about that they're taking on some of the work of clearing the drains and the outfall and trying to help with cleaning up the city, because clearly with the flooding on Wednesday, part of it was contributed by garbage, but also Wednesday flooding was very unusual. very unusual, and I'm still not sure how the city flooded like that. It wasn't a normal flood, even in 2005, with all the rain we had. Certain parts of Georgetown never flooded like that. You basically had rivers in some parts of the city. I mean, I'm not talking about a foot of water. And so either pumps weren't working when they should have been, or cokers that were not open when they should have been, sluices. Something was odd about Wednesday's flood, because we had rain again yesterday from Saturday night, and you didn't see any flooding of that nature like what happened on Wednesday, and certainly it seemed to be similar. I don't doubt that the PNC, because they've said the government is illegitimate, and they are opportunistically, I believe, trying to find anything they can latch their hat on. So we've seen the West Coast Berbice disturbances, the role they played there, the squatters at Success, the healthcare workers trying to get them to protest and go on strike. And then, of course, Patterson's rather ludicrous announcement on Wednesday that the flooding was caused by us, and that in the 5 years they were in government, you never had flooding, which was totally untrue, because a year before, Patterson was quoted in the papers as when we had a major flood in this city in July 2019. So he seemed to have forgotten. But this opportunistic approach to dealing with whatever comes up and whatever issues that are rising, to jump on it, latch onto it, to try to have political credibility and relevance, because they don't have political credibility and relevance right now at all.
Minister, I know we're coming to program time. We want to thank you so much for being with us. But let's talk quickly about Vice President Gail mentioned that no local government election with the current configuration of the Elections Commission. What can the PEP government do, if anything, to change that composition and to ensure that we have local government elections next year?
I just want to make sure that we're both talking about the same thing. Dr. Jagdeo said on his press conference that, one, we wanted elections in 2021. We wanted local government elections, that we were going to put resources in the budget for local government elections, and we would not be held back at this point in terms of local government elections, that we wanted it in 2021 because we felt we can be even stronger in local government in 2021 than even in 2018. So the impression is that, yes, we have to work towards having some of the persons who caused us all the trauma in the last 5 months, or the 5 months following the local government elections, to not be in place. But that we are in no way saying that we are not going to have elections in 2021 at this stage. We're talking about resources. We're talking about preparing to win again in 2021 local government elections.
But Vice President Jagdeo said he will not local government elections will not be held unless those criminal elements are removed from GECOM. And he is calling Chairperson Claudette Singh to get rid of them.
Yes, of course, but he also said at the same time that elections, we wanted local government elections, and that resources be made available. Right. I guess that we are all hoping that the courts will listen and hear the cases with Lowenfield and the others, and that we will get justice, because what they put our country through is unacceptable. It is criminal, and that we have as a country to show that this type of behavior is unacceptable, and it must not be tolerated. And so, I mean, we hope the courts will deal with that matter of the what Lowenfield and others did outside of the election petition as quickly as possible.
Yeah, but Minister, with these charges laid against the CEO and the returning officer, the deputy CEO, shouldn't they be put aside at least for now to ensure that the commission runs efficiently without them? And if they're proven innocent, then they can be reinstated. But for now, they should be off the job. Why are they still on the job?
Well, I think you have to ask Justice Singh that in the GECOM. If it was my call, yes, I agree with you 100%. I would send them, interdict them, because they have criminal charges against them. And in the public service, if you are charged, you are interdicted and you are given 1/3 of your salary pending the court case. If you are judged innocent, you return to work. If you're not, you then don't get any more pay. But that is, I think that is a call for GECOM. It is a constitutional body. So no matter what we think, it is still the decision of the chairman and the commission. And you know that even the selection of the lawyer for the GECOM case to represent GECOM was an issue that was fought, and the chairman had to come in and give a position. But I think all of us would like to see them at least be suspended or interdicted so that the commission can look to see, are there other people within the commission, or to bring in other people to run the elections for local
Thank
government.
you, Minister. I know it's been a great time having you here, Dr. Rose. It's program time. Is there anything else you want to say in closing?
No, I must thank the Minister for coming at the last minute invite. But Minister Teixeira, we'll love to have you back on this program. We will. We have a number of more questions to ask, but time is of the essence. I had to ask you to come because Minister Todd told me that he could have only made it for half hour. So thanks a lot for that. I greatly appreciate it. And we will have you back, rest assured. You're very, very skillful and competent in answering questions.
So thank you very much, gentlemen, for having me. Good night, viewers, for listening. And yes, I'll be happy to be with you again. Thank you very much. All the best.
And Minister, I have to tell the president to give you some more work, because the more pressure in, the better you look. So I guess something is going on with the pressure you're going through and the way you look. So again, we want to wish you all the best in your ministry. And we want to wish also the government of Guyana all the best, because there's so many things to do. There's so many things that just went wrong, gone wrong, that you need to put in place. And I'm sure that President Ali and his team, and with you being one of the senior members of the party, and of course with the ministerial experience, you will guide the other ministers into making Guyana a real good place for all of us to be a part of. So Minister, thank you so much for being on the program tonight. We look forward to having you sometime in the future so we can have a lot more time with you to go through the details of what you're doing in government. Thank you so much.
And maybe will I say that because of our longevity in government, the pressure is being reflected elsewhere? It's not sticking on you.
Anyway, tomorrow is our 100th day in office, and so I'm sure you'll want to scrutinize and see how well we've done and what more we need to do. But we're willing to take on the challenge. So thank you very much, and all the best to you.
Well, we had the Attorney General last week, and he did say the current administration, I think you've done exemplary for the first 100 days. And if you continue this way, Guyana can only get better. And we look forward to working with you guys to ensure that we have a beautiful country called Guyana.
Thank you very much. All the best to you.
Thank you, Minister Teixeira. Thanks very much.
To our viewers, we want to thank you so much for being with us, to Noah Singh and to Devin, and to all our viewers. Thank you so much. Until the next time, God bless you and God bless Guyana as this new administration celebrates 100 days in government tomorrow. Congratulations, Minister, to your government. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.